This video is sponsored by NordPass, a new service powered by the more popular NordVPN service. NordPass not only generates highly complex passwords instantly, but it also autofills and autosaves them, utilizing top-of-field encryption technology. In other words, that whole remember my password link that you always click on hesitantly but do it anyway because you're too lazy to type in your password every single time can be done directly through NordPass, but with significantly more security, all the while containing a more complex password that can be generated with just the click of a button. Like, you literally just click and log in with one master password for everything without even having to think about anything else at all. And also, while still protecting all of your passwords and personal account information, better than you ever could on your own before. Not to mention, you'll never have to worry about forgetting or losing your password ever again. NordPass takes care of all of that and works on pretty much every single internet browser, even some of those old weird ones that barely anyone even uses anymore. Oh, and don't worry, your mobile devices can be protected as well. You can get 50% off of the already ridiculously low price, plus an additional month for free if you use my promo code FROMNOTHING. Or just go to nordpass.com/FromNothing, which I'll leave a link to below. So basically you'll be getting this awesome service for just $2.49 a month, all the while supporting the continuation and growth of From Nothing in the process. Everybody wins. Hello everyone, it's Jabbar here. In regards to maps of pre-colonial African kingdoms, the internet is polluted by a depressingly large amount of inaccurate, uninclusive, or in most cases just outright lazy maps. Largely inspired by Emperor Tigerstar's Bad Map series, I'm going to host a similar series here on From Nothing that's specific to maps of Africa. Considering the sheer scale of bad maps of Africa that there are on the internet, like literally nearly all of them fitting into the bad category, it honestly surprised me that he hasn't encountered or hosted any of them on his series. Like, even if you have relatively little knowledge of African civilizations, some of these maps are just outright painful to look at. Anyway, with that being said, I think I'll take up the task here on From Nothing, and this will make for a relatively consistent series. I'll be judging these maps based on the following categories: borders, consistency, inclusiveness, and just overall accuracy. So we'll start off with this masterpiece. Right away I'm wondering about these highly bloated and just overall disproportionate borders. Like, why is the Kingdom of Congo so massive to the point where it's bordering the East African Great Lakes in Zimbabwe, which itself is also just way too huge. Oh, and let's not forget the fact that the Songhai and Kanem are tiny in comparison, despite being among the largest empires in African history. Oh, and speaking of Songhai, why is it totally engulfing all of Mali's former territory? Songhai never extended that far. Even at Songhai's zenith, Mali still covered a fairly sizable region to the southwest of Songhai's borders. It was never fully conquered by Songhai. Literally all of these borders are awful, and I could go on all day about them, but let's move on. So there's pretty much no consistency at all. The map is labeled African Empires 900 to 1500, yet it shows a combination of empires, modern nations, geographical regions for some reason, and people groups with nothing to distinguish between them whatsoever. So to someone who has no knowledge of African history, they naturally assume that everything displayed are empires, as the label implies. So since when was there an empire called Khoisan people? When was there an empire called Somalia? When was there a Lagos Empire? Why is Tanganyika there? Tanganyika was a modern state that literally only existed for 3 years, between 1961 and 1964, before changing its name to Tanzania. It was never an empire. Why is Senegambia region an empire? Oh, and then Madagascar, for some reason, has a label only, but no color. That's the only part of this map that's labeled that way. What's the reason for this? So many more problems, but let's go on and move on to the next category of inclusiveness. This map covers a period of 600 years between 900 and 1500, so why are there only 20 empires? Empires. By itself, West Africa would have had more empires than this, and not in a 600-year span either, but in the year 1500 alone. In addition to this, there's virtually no overlap displayed for any of the civilizations except for Ghana, Mali, and Songhai, despite the fact that this map is supposedly showing Africa from the 10th and 16th centuries. Oh, and speaking of which, why are Ashanti and Dahomey here? Neither of these empires even existed until the 17th century. Overall, this map is just god-awful in nearly every single way possible. Oh, and by the way, this map isn't even free either. Yeah, if you generously spend some money on this masterpiece at themaparchive.com, it can be yours to do as you please with. So this next map will actually consist of two maps, like a two-part series, both from Wikimedia, dating from the years 1556 and 1700 respectively. So let's start with the 1556 map. At first glance, to any typical historian, the first map will look totally fine, covering all the bases. The reason for this is the unfortunate truth that anyone looking at this map for historical reference is probably going to be focused so much on Eurasia and the New World that they won't even think about Africa at all aside from the Mediterranean civilizations, and probably wouldn't even notice the fact that it's literally devoid of any human civilization whatsoever. Unless of course they're like me and have a specific affinity for African history. While there are simply too many kingdoms and empires to name off that are absent from this blank canvas known as Africa, one thing I do find particularly questionable about this map is that of all time periods of Africa that you could possibly screw up on a map, this map depicts the year 1556, literally during the height of Africa's largest empire ever. How on earth can you possibly have any excuse for missing that other than purposely ignoring it? The problem with maps like these is that they do nothing more than serve to reinforce the erroneous belief that Africa was a boundless land of stateless societies, when that is very far from the truth. Not to mention Eurasia has small states and small tribes in some regions, so I guess Africa, the Americas, and Australia just lacked any humans at all, according to that logic. So the second of these two maps from Wikimedia depicts the year 1700. As you can see now, Africa is suddenly exploding with states and civilizations all throughout the continent. The 40,000-year-old collective giant tribe known as Aboriginal peoples have made landfall in Australia, and the Americas now suddenly has a plethora of tribes as well. Finally, the world can rejoice as other continents besides Eurasia are now populated. Despite being much better than the 1556 map, Africa still lacks several kingdoms and empires that existed during this period. For example, the map shows Buganda as the only kingdom bordering Lake Victoria, even though there were several of them. Dindi, the successor state of Songhai mentioned before, is also missing. Marina controls the entire island of Madagascar, even though it never has at any point in history. In fact, in the year 1700, there were several small kingdoms all throughout the island of Madagascar. At that time, Marina was but one of several small kingdoms scattered throughout the island, located roughly in the center of the island, and no imperial expansion began at all until roughly 100 years later. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and let me know what you think of this series so far. I'm open to suggestions as well as maps that you think should be featured here. You can send them to me via email, Twitter, or Discord. Also, I'd like to remind you guys that the team from Nothing is working hard to bring potentially the world's first accurate chronological year-by-year map of pre-colonial African kingdoms to the world. Despite the progress that we've made in the past couple of years, this entire process will take several years to actually complete. The time, effort, money, and resources are not easy to come by, but your help and support contributes immensely, and they're seriously not words to describe just how much I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. I really, really, really do. Thanks again guys, and always remember, we don't come from nothing.